Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look at week 5 of the 2020 season of the Overwatch League. I'm going to give you my picks, my predictions, and all that fun stuff. So let's start by talking about the hero pools, which are being implemented for the first time this week in the Overwatch League. And I talked about this a little bit in the recap video, but the heroes that are banned for this week are McCree and Widowmaker for the DPS heroes, Moira for the support hero, and Reinhardt for the tank hero. So overall, I don't expect a lot to change on the support side. We're still going to see a lot of Lucio Ana, Lucio Brig compositions most likely. Maybe we see some Pharah Mercy compositions now with McCree and Widowmaker banned. Without Reinhardt, I expect to see a lot of Dive. Or Orisa, which is not as fun. So there's definitely a number of ways we can go. With McCree and Widowmaker being banned, that leaves pretty much Hanzo, Mei, or Doomfist, Sombra, Doomfist Tracer type compositions. Dive or Bunker is really kind of what I would expect to see at this point in time. Those are really the only two major compositions I would expect to see run at this stage. So obviously, it's going to impact a number of teams and how they perform, but let's jump into it and look at the teams and how I think they will play. So, as you can see, here are my picks. Starting with Saturday, we have the Toronto Defiant taking on the Florida Mayhem. What's interesting about this one to me is that these are two teams that are very similar. They have the exact same record, exact same differential. So it really comes down to who is going to perform better in a hero pool situation. And when I look at these teams, my immediate reaction is, well, if you're the Toronto Defiant, you're not going to have Logix playing, because Logix is known for his hit scan. And there's no Widowmaker and there's no McCree. So unless he's playing Soldier 76 or Ashe, he's not going to play. So it's going to most likely be Surefour Agilities, which isn't awful because that was where the Toronto Defiant have looked the best when Surefour is playing. But what I find interesting is, if it's Doomfist Sombra, I think that Surefour and Agilities makes for an interesting Doomfist Sombra duo. And I guess if you have to run Reaper, you could definitely run Logix. But really where I swing this one in Florida's favor is Fate on Winston is something I trust. I think Fate is very, very good at Winston. So seeing him on Winston to me is a big plus, and I think that's something that really helps this team out. And also, I think that having BQB's Sombra is something that's very good, and Yaki is a very good player. It really comes down to, I'm more confident in the tank line of the Mayhem than I am the tank line of the Defiant to perform at a high enough level that they will win this match. I think both teams are definitely capable of adapting, but I think it's going to be interesting to see if they do adapt. But I'm curious to see how this match goes. But I'm going to pick the Florida Mayhem for now, because I think that they have put in enough of the work, and I think they have a roster that can survive and perform well in a Doomfist Sombra or other type of dive composition, or if they're running a bunkery, either bunker or Orisa Diva, Orisa Hog type composition. I think the Mayhem can thrive off of that. Moving on to the next match is the Paris Eternal taking on the Houston Outlaws. And I think this is an interesting matchup because I think the Paris Eternal are going to run into one issue with this, and that is that they have XZ, who is known primarily for his hit scan play. He's a very good McCree, he's a very good Widowmaker player, but he can't play either of those heroes for next week. So, how does he play? How does he bounce back? And the answer is most likely he doesn't actually play. I mean, there's a chance, depending on what heroes they run, that XE has that hero. It's kind of like a pocket pick, but it'll probably be soon Nico, since we can't see Sparkle yet because he's still not old enough. And that question really kind of combats how well does that work, because we know that the Houston Outlaws, their one win against the Toronto Defiant was them playing Doomfist Sombra a lot of the time. Not the entire time, but they were playing a lot of Doomfist Sombra. That's a composition that the Outlaws are very comfortable with and very, very good at. Blaze's Doomfist is very good. Dante's Sombra is very good. And I think you look at that team and you say they have a chance. 100% they have a chance to beat the Paris Eternal if the Paris Eternal aren't able to play to their strengths. No Smite or Ben Best on Winston or Orisa. I don't know how good that is. I know we saw No Smite playing Orisa week 1 when they were doing the double main tank compositions. But, Hanbin's going to be on his best heroes. That's for sure I think he can still play Diva, which is where he exceeds, or succeeds and excels. That's what I meant to say. And he's been one of the best. He's pretty much been the best player other than XZ since he was able to play. So he's a very good player, and I still think Paris wins. But I think Houston has a very good shot because the meta is going to favor the way they like to play. They like to play that Doomfist Sombra, and I think that ultimately is where they are going to potentially find success because they have a lot of Doomfist Sombra experience. Worked for them last season. I would assume it works for them this season. So I'm excited to see what the Outlaws pull out against the Eternal. Moving on to the final match on Saturday, it is the Boston Uprising taking on the Washington Justice. The Washington Justice are once again hosting a homestand, and I'm going to pick the Washington Justice to win against the Boston Uprising because I have faith in the Justice more so than I have faith in the Uprising. I don't think the Uprising are that great of a team. I think they are arguably the worst team in the league. I know there's some debates you could have for that because Boston did beat Houston. Boston is 1-2, whereas Houston is 1-5. But the difference is, Boston's win was almost not a win. It was very close. They kind of let their foot off the gas. And the Houston Outlaws' one win against Toronto was really, really good. And I think that win against Toronto for Houston is a lot better than the Uprising win against Houston. There's a whole kind of thing there. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about this match. Justice didn't play last week. They've had a whole week off. And that really benefits them. What doesn't benefit them is these hero pools. Corey's main heroes are Widowmaker and McCree, really. He's very good at those heroes, and he cannot play them. He can play Hanzo still, and Hanzo is another one of his good heroes. And I would expect to see a decent amount of Hanzo come out of him, because that's really the only thing he can run that plays to his strengths, unless he wants to run Soldier or Ashe or his Tracer as something that I've heard people say is good, but I've never actually seen it, so I don't really know what it looks like. But really, Corey is going to be the big question mark for this team. We know Elivote's still going to be able to play Diva. We know that Stratus is still going to be able to play his good picks, and he can still play the Mei if he has to. Like, they can run Mei Hanzo, which is probably what they will run. Stratus can play the Pharah if he has to. They have the options. But it really comes down to what will Corey play. Will he play the Hanzo, which is what I think is the most likely thing he plays, or will he play something else where they just really do like a weird pocket strategy that's just really different and interesting? I don't know. It's an intriguing match, but I just don't have that much faith in the Uprising. This is especially where I have less faith in the Uprising, because I don't know how good they are at changing things up. And in a hero pools meta, I think it's a much more questionable thing for them to see if they're actually really going to be capable of adapting to a bunch of different heroes. So for that reason, and some of the other reasons I mentioned, but Justice playing at home and all that kind of stuff, I'm picking the Justice. Moving on to Sunday, we have my big pick match, which is the Paris Eternal against the Philadelphia Fusion. So I kind of lied. I always said that my big pick match is the easiest match for me to pick each week. And this was not the hardest match for me to pick each week. This match was not that. I was pretty set on the Fusion going into it. But I made it my big pick match because I think it's the best match of the weekend. I think it will be pretty close. And I think it would have been much closer if the hero pools didn't get rid of Widowmaker and McCree. But I still think Soon, if Soon is the one who plays, and they feel confident in Soon's abilities, I still have faith that this Paris team can go the distance with the Fusion. I think the Fusion are in a really good spot, though. Yes, you can't run Carpe on Widowmaker, and Carpe may just not play. You may be running, depending on what heroes you're running, you may be running IV EQO. You may be running Chipsa on the Doomfist if they're get to a Doomfist meta, if that's the what they want to play. Like, there's a ton of different things that we could see from the Fusion here, because they have a wealth of riches right now at DPS that the Parasite Eternal do not have as they wait for Sparkle to come of age. So I think this is going to be an interesting match. You have Sato, who has been playing exceptionally this season, and Sato is playing Winston most likely this meta. I mean, he could play Orisa as well, but I'd expect a lot of Winston out of him, which is also insane, because that's his best main tank by far. So I really like what the Fusion have going for them this match. I think they're going to beat the Eternal. I don't think it's going to be too difficult, but overall, I think it's going to be an interesting match regardless, but I'm going to pick the Fusion for this one. Moving on to Sunday, we have the NYXL taking on the Washington Justice, and this is another interesting match, and this is a good match, I think, because the NYXL are a team who has really kind of thrived on their ability to adapt, going back all the way to 2018. They've always been a team that was able to adapt to different metas. They were able to adapt to different compositions, and yes, there were times where they struggled with that, where certain metas didn't play into their favor, so they didn't struggle to adapt as well, but they have a main tank player who can play literally any main tank hero, and who is arguably the best main tank in the league, just purely in terms of talent and game understanding. He may not be always playing as the best, but arguably he's the best main tank in the league. You have Hoppa, who's still able to play the Diva. You have damage dealers in Sabiobi and Nene and Libero and Who Are You, who can play pretty much any combination that you need. If you need Doomfist Sombra, you have it. If you need Tracer Genji or Tracer Doomfist, you have it. If you need Pharah Tracer, you have it. They can run pretty much any combination of damage dealers. And there's no Moira, but that doesn't really affect them very much. They still have the Lucia, they still have the Brig, they still have the Ana, which are the three that were really run the most over the past few weeks. So New York has everything they need going for them this week. They only play the one match. I really think this is going to be a stomp of the Washington Justice by the NYXL. Now, I could be wrong, obviously. I'm not perfect, but I really like what the NYXL have going for them. I think they have so much in terms of pure talent on their roster that I really do think that this is a match that they should win pretty convincingly, just because they are loaded with talent, and the Washington Justice, their best player, is unable to play his best picks. So that's why I'm going to go with NYXL for this one. Final match of the week is the Boston Uprising against the Atlanta Reign. For whatever reason, this match is not before the Justice match, which I think is weird. I feel like the home team should always play last, but whatever. This one I'm once again going against the Boston Uprising. The Atlanta Reign played very well in their first match of the season against the Toronto Defiant, and then they got pretty much clowned by the Paris Eternal, which really kind of sets the tone of where we can really figure out where teams are. I would say that Fusion, NYXL, and Eternal are the three best teams in the Atlantic right now. Then the Reign is below them, just right below them, and they haven't played that much, so we'll see how much they improve. And New York hasn't played Paris or hasn't played Atlanta yet, so we'll see how New York stacks up against some of those teams when they get to them later. But the Atlanta Reign are still a team that I think are very good. I think they still have a lot of really talented players, and that they're going to perform very well as the season progresses. It's hard to place these teams in any real order. I think I see people out there doing power rankings right now. This is a little tangent. I see people out there doing power rankings right now, and I hate it because they're including all the teams that have played at all this season. So they're just excluding the Charge, the Dragons, the Dynasty, the Hunters, and the Spark, which I just think is a bad way of doing it, because I think realistically the only type of power rankings you can make right now is an Atlantic Conference power rankings. I do not think you can make any power rankings touching the Pacific Conference, because they played, oh god, that was bad. They played one weekend, and it was the first weekend of the season. And Dallas played 2 matches, Vancouver played 2 matches, Valiant played 2 matches, and then the Shock and the Gladiators only played 1. So I don't think you can really do a power ranking for that kind of stuff. So it's a little difficult at this point in time, and I'm really just ready for these specific teams to get their games in and start playing, and I'm hoping it'll start next weekend, because if not, it's going to be forever before they play again. So we'll see what happens, but they haven't announced anything yet. But tangent over, let's go back to the Boston Uprising against the Atlanta Reign. I like what the Atlanta Reign have. Their roster is 12 players. They have backups in every single spot on that roster. They can run the double main tank if they want to run the double main tank, which they won't most likely because Reinhardt's not in the meta. So we could see Orisa Hog, Orisa Diva, Winston Diva, who knows. I just think that whatever is run, they have what they need to be able to run it at a high level. I'm not worried about them at all as a team. I think they're really in a good position as a team, and I think that they are going to win this game against the Boston Uprising pretty easily. I would expect it to be a pretty one-sided affair, and that is really where it ends for that. But that is everything that I have for you today, because those are my picks, and I'm curious to know what you have to say about them and what your own picks are. I'd love to hear those in the comments down below, but that is where I'm going to end this off. So thank you for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Hope you all enjoy these matches, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.